Have you ever stopped to listen to the way that you talk to yourself? I mean, actually really listen. If you did, would you be proud of that voice in your head, or would you just cringe at how harsh and unforgiving and just downright mean it could be? I used to think that this was normal, that beating myself up was part of my life. But here it is. If you wouldn't say it to your best friend, better yet, if you wouldn't say it to your own kids, why in the world are you talking to yourself in such terrible ways? Today, we're diving deep into negative self-talk, why we do it, how it affects us, and most importantly, how we can start changing it. Because trust me, this little voice in our head, it's been running the show for way too long, and it's time to take back control. Welcome back to Be Real. I am Stacia, and today is going to be filled with raw, unfiltered talk, all about why we are so damn mean to ourselves. And I'm talking that little voice in our head. Before we get into fixing this, let's bring some awareness to what actually is happening here. Let me paint a picture for you. I used to have these thoughts all of the time. I'm not good enough. I need to be doing more. I bet you that person doesn't even like me. I'm so annoying. I'm so fat and disgusting. I don't even like my own self. How come that person has their life all figured out? What's wrong with me? Why can't I have my life figured out? Gosh, why can't I just figure anything out? Does this sound familiar? These thoughts are brutal. They chip away at our confidence, our joy, and our ability to show up for ourselves. I'm still learning this, you guys, and I'm working on my thoughts daily. This is not something that just happens overnight. Let me tell you, we have to be patient with ourselves to really work through this. I literally just had a conversation with myself the other day. I was cleaning my house and I had my little duster rag and I went out on the deck and I went to go shake it off the top deck and out it slips. I watch it fall all the way down. I am so dumb. You guys, that was the first thought that came to my mind. I am so dumb. I'm still working on these thoughts. They do not change overnight. You are not alone. We know dropping that rag, I am not dumb. Dropping the rag, yeah, that was dumb. Like looking at the rag, I'm like, that's dumb. I am not dumb. And here's what I've learned over the years, and what I really want to share with you guys, is just because that thought pops into our heads, it does not mean that it's true. And it sure as hell does not mean that you have to accept it. So let's break this down. How do we recognize these thoughts, and how can we shift them? I'm going to walk you through a few things that has really helped me, and hopefully they will help you too. Because I will be honest with you, this negative self-talk has got to go. We have got to be nicer to ourselves. Let's start with one of the biggest culprits. This never-ending pressure to always be doing something. You ever sit down to go relax, but your brain won't let you? You finally plop down on the couch, and instead of enjoying it, your mind immediately jumps to, I should be doing laundry. I need to go do the dishes because I know they're not done. I should be going to go work out. Imagine your brain is kind of like a hamster wheel. It's like you're constantly running, but you're just not really getting anywhere. Sometimes we guilt ourselves out of resting when really rest is exactly what we need. Learning to recognize this pattern is the first step to changing it. So the next time that you actually catch yourself feeling guilty for resting, pause and ask yourself, am I actually procrastinating? Because there are times where you actually are procrastinating. Or is my body telling me, hey, I need to take a break for a minute? Because those are two totally different things. You got to find out what is going on in your mind. You got to ask yourself, instead of listening to those thoughts, man, I suck, I'm lazy for sitting down and doing nothing. Okay, that thought just came in. You know what? Let's reframe this. Am I resting right now because my body needs a break? Or am I procrastinating? If you're procrastinating, that's another issue that we'll get into later. Get up, go do what you need to do. Nothing else that we can talk about today. But sometimes your body needs a break. You're not being lazy. So tell yourself, hey, that thought popped up, I'm being lazy? No, I need a rest. And that's okay. Start being kind to yourself. So here's another way that we tend to beat ourselves up. You ever just wake up in the morning and you set these unrealistic expectations for yourself? I'm cleaning the whole house today. And then reality hits. You're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, and you just need to take a rest. Or in other episodes that we've talked about, just shit hits the fan. But instead of adjusting, you feel like a complete failure for not following through. When you're setting unrealistic goals, it's like signing up for a marathon and never even going outside for a jog to run a single mile. If your goals don't align with what you actually need, you're setting yourself up for failure. Instead of aiming for this perfection, aim for progress. Small, realistic steps will always get you further than giant, unrealistic leaps. Kind of like weight loss. Yeah, if you want to go on a diet, the quick fixes, that might get you somewhere for a little bit, but they're so unsustainable, they're never going to last. Set yourself up for success. Don't let those unrealistic goals win. This is a good one. Let's talk about something that really messes with our heads. Comparison. You guys ever scroll social media, seeing someone's highlights? Man, how do they have all this money to do this? How does she have such a nice body? Like, we're not doing enough. I remember a time I walked into the gym and I hadn't been in a long time. And I saw this girl and she looked fire. I mean, she was lifting heavy. She was beautiful, wasn't even breaking a sweat. Here I am, completely out of shape, on the treadmill, completely sweaty. And I just immediately shrank. What am I even doing here? I do not belong here. I started just telling myself all of these things. Why did I allow myself to get to where I am now? All of these negative thoughts started just creeping in. Does that sound familiar? Here's the thing, you guys. I have no idea what her story is. I have no idea how long she's been training for, how many times she has failed to get to where she is right now. I have no idea if she ever felt the exact same way that I felt in that moment. Here's the thing. We should never compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20 because we don't know what their story is. So instead of using this comparison to tear yourself down, or shoot, even tear the person who you're comparing down, use it as inspiration. Let it remind you that growth takes time and that showing up, no matter how messy, is what actually matters. Let's start cheering each other on instead of comparing. And remember, we can't help that first thought that comes into our mind. So let's start shifting that and cheer each other on. Now, let's talk about those days when you just wake up kind of off. Some days you just don't feel like dealing with the world. That's totally normal. You just don't even want to be in your own skin. We've all been there. But here's the deal. Being in a bad mood does not give you an excuse to treat yourself like crap or anybody else. But ignoring your emotion is like shoving dirty laundry under your bed. It's like going into your kid's room and being like, did you clean? Yeah, I cleaned. No, you still have a mess. All your clothes are still there and still need to be picked up. We cannot ignore the feelings. We cannot ignore the mess. Instead of pretending that you're just fine, acknowledge it. Yeah, I'm grumpy today, but give yourself that grace and give yourself the time. Just don't let it dictate your whole day. Give yourself the space that you need. Walk away if you need to. Don't engage when you know that you're grumpy. Just acknowledge it. Know who you are and know what's going on inside of here. Give yourself that space. Finally, let's talk about how we end our days, because that really does set the tone for that next morning. And if your night looks like you're scrolling on TikTok until like 1 a.m. comparing to that girl who you saw at the gym the day before, your mornings are probably gonna suck, because your brain is kind of like a snow globe. If you shake it up with chaos before bed, it's hard to get things to settle. So how you treat yourself at night completely is gonna determine how you feel in the morning. So be intentional, unplug, wind down, and set yourself up for success. Having a night routine is so important. And you have to find what works for you, because everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to have their own way of ending their night. So find what works for you and be consistent as you can. Guys, this was a lot to unpack, but here's the bottom line. Your inner voice matters. The way you talk to yourself matters. Think of it like carrying a backpack full of bricks. Every negative thought, I'm not good enough. Here's another brick in my backpack. I should be doing more because I never do enough. Another brick. I suck. Another brick. I am fat. I shouldn't have eaten that candy bar. Another brick. Your backpack, over time, that weight becomes so heavy. But guess what? You're the one who's putting those bricks in. Since you're the one who's putting them in, you're the one who gets to take them out. So little by little, you get to take those bricks and chuck them. When you start talking to yourself and giving yourself grace and shifting that mindset, giving yourself some kindness, your backpack starts getting lighter. And that's when you know that you're making progress. And remember, you're not stuck. You are not powerless. And you are definitely not alone on this. I got you. If this episode resonated with you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, please rate and review this podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Tag me in your Instagram or Facebook. Remember, these changes do take time. Please be patient with yourself. Always believe in yourself and know I am right by your side, living this messy life with you. Until next time, always be real.